With Borderlands 4 officially being released, we have platinum every single Borderlands game, and now we're off to the spin-off before we actually can get to Borderlands 4. I don't want to waste your time, let's jump right into it. Tales from the Borderlands. This one was developed by Telltale's Games, so the ones that actually make all the Tales games. Was released on November 25th, 2014, so yes, this is a very old game. Sometimes old games are the best games in my opinion, and Tell games are very old school. I love them. They're just a story game where you make a decision and it kind of changes the whole course of the entire game. You're the host of the game. You're the one that is the storyteller in a way. Kinda, because I think no matter what, at the end, it's kind of the same outcome, I believe. When it comes to trophies in this game, they're very simple. Make a decision, finish the chapter, you pop the trophy. That's pretty much it. We start off with Reese. If you see my latest video in Borderlands 3, he's actually in there. But this is all before Borderlands 3. Remember that. So as of right now, he's kind of a nobody. And he's getting dragged through the desert, and this guy wants to know his story. His side of the story. What happened? We start off with Reese in the Hyperion base, where we also meet Vaughn, his best friend, the money man. And they're talking about Reese's big day because he's expecting a big promotion. We walk into the office expecting the promotion, and then come to realize that Vasquez actually stole the promotion for himself. Vasquez is your nemesis, so we're trying to figure out, how did this man get the promotion over Reese? How did he get the promotion over us? Reese has this eye that can scan through things, so we start scanning through stuff, seeing how this man got it, and he starts talking on the phone, and come to find out, he actually promised Hyperion a vault key. We actually make a plan to actually go take the vault key for ourselves. We'll need $10 million, but before leaving, Vasquez starts yapping and starts talking to us and actually gives us a promotion. This man really humiliated us and made us a janitor, and all of the promotions he could give us, he made us a janitor. So yes, we're gonna try to ruin his life. We start talking to Vaughn, start making plans, and then we meet our other best friend, Yvette, and we tell Vaughn we need $10 million. And remember, he's the money man, so it's very easy for him to get $10 million somehow. Then we steal Vasquez's car and head down to Pandora, where the real adventure begins. One thing to remember is that the briefcase is fingerprint scanned by only Vaughn himself. That's the only way to access it and open it. Now, Reese and Vaughn have never been to the Borderlands, so this is actually pretty tricky for us to find the world of curiosities. So we start asking for directions for some odd reasons, even though all these guys look pretty damn crazy. And of course, things go south. So we ask our best friend Yvette for some help, and she sends down a loader bot. We get to pick the weapons on this thing, and it starts going berserk and starts going crazy and starts killing everybody. Sadly, Loaderbot can only take out so many guys. He gets his leg taken off, his arm ripped off, and we tell him, go, leave us. You put us in a safe spot now, just leave. And luckily, he got out just in time. We start roaming around trying to find the vault key, and then we find a bunch of dead bodies from past Borderlands games. And we see this doctor that's actually part of the Borderlands 2 DLC, and we find this USB drive on the floor that was part of them. We take it for safekeeping, and then we find this door, and we find the guy with the key, August. He shows us the vault key, and then his girlfriend goes all haywire and just doesn't trust us. She doesn't believe what we're up to. So we start trying to talk to her about how this is going to hurt Hyperion, and she believes us all of a sudden. I didn't buy it, by the way. I thought this was kind of bullcrap. But then we start running into problems with August, how he only wanted to do a deal with Vasquez, and then he starts trying to walk away with the vault key. And this is where Reese really comes with the bullcrap of the story. He tried to make himself look really good about how he talked August into giving him the key and how he was this brilliant guy, yada yada yada. And then all of a sudden, our story is cut short by a girl named Fiona. She said that side of the story was total bullcrap, and she was kind of right. You'll see in the future in a little bit. So now it's time to hear her side of the story and how everything really played out. And we finally get our first trophy along the way. Welcome to Pandora, kiddos. This is Felix. He actually raised Fiona to be a con artist, and he actually made himself a fake vault key that he is going to try to sell. And come to find out, Sasha is actually sister with Fiona. Yes, the girlfriend of August. So Felix, Sasha, and Fiona are all three on it. The only one that doesn't know about the fake vault key is August. So we have to make sure he doesn't touch it. And we make up some type of thing that he'll get poisoning if he does, because we don't want the paint to come off of it. When the deal was going down, Sasha seen that Reese has an eye to scan the vault key to see if it was real or fake, and that's why she started freaking out and she called for help. This chapter was actually really short, and I got the second trophy for the game. Now we know why Sasha started freaking out during the whole arrangement and backed up all the way to the vent so Fiona could place a device on it, and that was an EMP blast. The EMP blast will obviously stop anything electronic, so Reese can't scan it to see if it's real or fake, but they didn't know he was going to put the vault key in his metal arm, and his metal arm started freaking out, and then he dropped it. and it shattered everywhere, showing that it was a fake vault key after all. All of a sudden, a bandit car comes to the building fighting the legendary vault hunter Zero. Zero tells them, "You know what I'm looking for." The guy has no idea, but then ends up picking up the briefcase saying, "We have a lucky day, boys," and then ends up escaping with it. This is where August really starts losing it and just starts shooting at everybody. Felix ends up saving Sasha from a bullet. Luckily, he's okay. Everyone jumps in the car just to get away from August so he doesn't kill them. Now, Reese and Vaughn are stuck in a vehicle with Sasha and Fiona, which Fiona has a gun, so she will kill them. This is where Reese actually bullcrafts himself out of this situation. He tells them that he has a device that will track the money, and he's talking about the USB drive that he found earlier from the doctor. He puts it inside of his head and he passes out, and this is the end of this chapter. Obviously, the USB drive is not going to work on tracing the money, so Vaughn ends up finding it himself. We scan the place on where the money's at, and then we start seeing people drop left and right, and then it ends up being Zero dropping these people. So this man's a sniper, a ninja. He is the ultimate vault hunter. I don't care what anyone says. As a group, we separate ourselves to try to find the money, and then we end up running into a problem, but luckily Zero's there to help us. But before that, Reese's stuff started glitching out, and then something started going really wrong with him, and we don't know why just yet. But hey, at the end, we got Zero on our side, and we get a trophy for it. Fiona and Vaughn end up running into an issue where they have to enter the death race, which is kind of a benefit because it leads everyone to the exact same location where the money's actually at. Because if you win the death race, you get the money. But of course, with Zero by our side, he just wants to kill the main boss. So the money ends up getting on the death race track. Fiona ends up going off. Everything ends up going sideways, and then out of nowhere, Felix ends up taking the money for himself, which is kind of a great twist in the game. And he ends up turning his back on everyone that he loves, and Fiona is shocked by this. We have the choice to either tell him that there's a bomb attached to it if he opens the case, so he can either die or live, and we end up telling him that there's a bomb. He tosses it and the money blows up everywhere, and then Zero ends up stabbing the main boss, taking him out for good, and then he ends up saying Gortys is not here. The bandit was not lying, but that is one less bandit to worry about. Reese is kind of shocked by this and wondering what he's talking about. We start messing with controls, and then we fall into a pit. This ends chapter 5 of episode 1. When we wake up, it ends up being an Atlas facility, and everyone's looking down at us. We're just like, "What's up, guys? Come down, come on." They eventually get down to us, and then me and Fiona end up finding a device. We end up combining it together, and it shows a map of all of Pandora. Just when I thought a Borderlands game wasn't going to include Handsome Jack, of course, they end up including Handsome Jack in some type of way. Am I surprised? No, not at all. This ends chapter 6 of episode 1, and also all of episode 1 combined, so we end up getting 2 trophies. The next episode starts, and Handsome Jack is actually in our head from that USB device. But the only person that can see him is Reese, so everyone thinks this man is going crazy. This man is straight up Randy Orton hearing voices inside of his head. We end up figuring out what we found is actually the Gortys project. It can lead us to a vault, and then Reese looks up in the sky and starts seeing stars, but they actually end up being moonshots, which are big bombs, so we need to get out of there right away. This chapter was really short, and it ends up being the end of this chapter, which ends up getting us a trophy. I felt like this episode was really short in general. You're just trying to escape the moonshots from hitting your car, ends up hitting the back of your car. Reese and Vaughn end up going flying out, and that ends this chapter right away. Now we're stranded in the desert with AI Handsome Jack, and of course, we're the only ones that can see him. This man is yapping left and right, and then we see something coming after us. We see something in the sky, and it ends up being Vasquez. He really only showed up to kill us, and he ends up talking about his gun, how it's a prototype, and how it's really gonna do some serious damage. Man's really trying to compensate for something. I already know it. But with our eye, we end up hacking into his car, we ends up hitting him, and I don't know how he doesn't die, but he doesn't. He does a major backflip and lands on his stomach. He doesn't die, and he ends up getting in his car and tries to run us over. And the one to save us is the Loaderbot. The Loaderbot saves us from getting hit by the car and takes us away. I end up picking Hollow Point to go to so we can all go as one big family to go to the vault. This ends another chapter where I end up earning another trophy. Now it's time to catch up with the girls to see what they're up to. They end up going back home. They also go to Scooters to get their car fixed. We end up finding wanted posters everywhere, and of course, there are people hunting us down. Back at our house, I end up finding a box left from Felix for Sasha and Fiona. Sasha doesn't want to know what's in her box, so we just keep it to ourselves at the end of the day. And 2 goons end up breaking into our house and holding us at gunpoint. We end up getting away from them, and out of nowhere, I recognize this shield, flinging into action, and it ends up being Athena, which ends chapter 4. Now with Athena chasing the girls, it's actually pretty dangerous, and their life might be at risk. Just when we thought we actually got away from her, we didn't, because of course, she's one of the most badass assassins assassins of all of Pandora. There's only one person that can actually save us, and it's Loaderbot. He comes out of nowhere and just launches her across town. I don't know if she lives or dies at this point. I'm thinking she's dead because she literally got launched. We end up meeting back up with Reese and Vaughn because they're in town now. The car's all fixed up and we end up going to Hollow Point all together. But before the chapter ends, we end up seeing Athena on top of Scooter's building. I really don't know how she lived through that, but hey. It's Athena. Once we get to Hollow Point, we start messing around with things and we end up finding an abandoned facility. Of course, we end up being found by August and Vasquez somehow, some way. We asked the Loaderbot to help us to get us out of this situation, but of course, Vasquez actually has the button to stop all Loaderbots because he's in charge of them all. Vasquez knows everything about the cores and the entire Gortys project, so he wants us to combine both cores together to see what happens. But first, he started yapping about how he used to look up to Handsome Jack and how he used to be Handsome Jack's punching bag, but Handsome Jack doesn't remember him at all. Me and Fiona end up combining both cores together, and then all of a sudden a metal ball appears. We touch it and everything goes completely wrong, and this is how the episode ends. It ends on a cliffhanger, and before you used to have to wait for each episode every week, I believe. So this was a huge cliffhanger if you had to wait. Vasquez was threatening to kill Vaughn and August was threatening to kill Sasha. Our last decision for the episode was to either trust Fiona for throwing up a grenade or to trust Handsome Jack to take over our body. I trusted Fiona to throw up the grenade, and then all of a sudden you see someone grab this picture. It's of Felix, Sasha, and Fiona, and they rip off Felix. So now that's where the episode truly ends. Now it was time for episode 3. Thankfully, we didn't have to wait a week to actually see what happened. At first, I thought she threw her grenade up in the air, and I was like, okay, is she just going to try to kill us all? But no, it ended up being a smoke grenade, and she actually had a plan. We actually found a way out. While working together, we actually took out a couple of bandits and actually got to the group. But because Vasquez was actually in charge of Loaderbot tried to kill us. And this is where Fiona really steps it up and takes out Vasquez, and he drops a button and Loaderbot actually starts helping. Only one that truly gets hurt is Vaughn. He ends up taking the dart to the neck and ends up paralyzed. But Loaderbot ends up getting us all together and helps us get out of the facility. We leave August and Vasquez alone by themselves in there, and that ends chapter 1. But right away in chapter 2, it goes quick. Loaderbot ends up taking a missile to the face, and we end up meeting a new villain, Valerie. Vasquez comes out of nowhere saying how this ball is going to make them more than $10 million, that they're going to actually find a vault. But Valerie has other plans and just kills Vasquez right on the spot. So now we don't have to deal with them anymore, at least. And now it's Valerie pointing a gun at Fiona, and they have to make two decisions: cut her deal or spin her head. And then all of a sudden Fiona goes off and cuts her up. But this ended up not being part of the true story. It was all just made up in Fiona's head when she was telling her part of the story. What really happened was Valerie actually shot a bullet at Fiona, and Athena popped out of nowhere and stopped the bullet and threw her shield, taking out everybody. Valerie ends up retreating, and then the funniest dialogue I have heard in Borderlands happens.
You're not getting Gortys.
What?
What?
I am here to help you, you idiots!
Oh.
I love Athena. She is one of my favorite vault hunters in the entire Borderlands series. She was hired by Felix to actually mentor both Sasha and Fiona. So now Athena's with us throughout the entire game, which I actually love. We find a button on this little metal ball, we push it, and then Gortys comes to life. Starts yapping a lot. She's a very talkative little ball, and then says there's an upgrade, and she points in the right direction. She has this GPS on the top of her head. So now we go there, ending this chapter. On our way to finding this upgrade, Reese is talking to Jack the entire time, and everyone thinks we're going crazy because no one can see Jack. Only Reese can. And Jack tells him that he can see a little bit of himself inside Reese, so maybe Reese ends up turning evil in this game. We don't know just yet. But we go back to the storytelling and we finally get to the dome. We run into the doctor and we don't know his name. We have no idea who this guy is, but he helps us along the way. He actually helps with Vaughn, so Vaughn's not paralyzed anymore. Tells us where the upgrade might be, and this is where the next chapter starts. This chapter is actually pretty short. We have Reese and Sasha running into some problems. Athena and Fiona actually get into the part where the upgrade's at, and that's where the chapter ends. Then this is where we find the upgrade. We actually still have it in hand in present day, and the guy ends up taking it away from us. We found out who the doctor was, and his name is Cassius. He works for Atlas, and once Athena finds this out, she wants to murder this man because Atlas tricked her into killing her own sister. Imagine that. Imagine a company tricking you into killing your own sibling. I would be out for blood also. I don't blame her. But I end up taking the high ground and stopped her and being like, hey, let's relax. Let's all calm down. Let's not freak out. And then out of nowhere, Brick comes out and just spears her through a window because he's with the big boss lady, and she shoots a rocket at us, and that's how this chapter ends. Reese wakes up with the trophy above his head, and then everyone just goes at it. Reese Reese and Vaughn take on the boss lady, with Vaughn coming up clutch with the chokehold. Then you have Fiona and Sasha taking on the bandits from earlier, and of course they win. We finally give Gortys his upgrade and he becomes the legs for Loaderbot. Loaderbot lost his legs due to the bandits. After that, Fiona tries to go help Athena because she's going against Brick and Mordecai at this point, and it is just a full chapter of Athena trying to go against everybody. Brick doesn't give a damn if you're a woman because he straight up knocks out Fiona. And right before taking a rocket, Athena throws her shield towards us and we try to throw it back to her, but she takes the rocket to the chest, and Brick and Mordecai drag her to, I believe, Borderlands the pre-sequel. And this is where the angry boss lady asks Gortys, where's the upgrade? Where's the next one? And Gortys is like, whoa, whoa, chill, do not kill Loaderbot, I'll tell you, and then points up into the sky. So the next episode, we'll be taking a trip to Helios, and this is where this episode ends, and we get the trophy for it. Now it was time to game plan on how we're gonna get this part, but everyone doesn't know where it's at, besides Reese, of course, because he has Handsome Jack in his head. Handsome Jack tells Reese where the part is exactly at, and of course, we start game planning and start telling everyone the exact game plan that we have. So we go to Scooter first. We tell him to build us a rocket to get us up there. We take Vasquez's base, so it's confirmed that we can even get in Helios. We go into Handsome Jack's office to actually get the part. Then we just need Valerie to sign off on all of it, which of course she does. People question on how we got this information on where the part is, but hey, we're Reese. We come up with some type of bullshit. And now it was time to go ask Scooter if he could build us a rocket ship. This is where we actually meet Athena's girlfriend, Janie Springs. Might actually recognize her from Borderlands the pre-sequel. We go get Vasquez's face, which is not easy, but hey, we end up getting it. And then we get our second trophy for this episode. The rocket gets built and then we have an epic montage of everyone walking out. Reese is checking out Sasha because he's totally into her. And then Fiona is like, nope, not having it. Scooter's checking out Fiona and she gets weirded out. We finally get to space and then we see Reese's old boss, who was actually supposed to give him the promotion, and then he gets sucked up into one of the rocket boosters. This is when things get real bad if Fiona and Scooter actually have to go outside of the spaceship to release the boosters. Fiona gets her side done real easy. Then we go see what's taking Scooter so long, and we see that he's actually stuck, and so we give him a hug. We release the booster, and this is the last time we'll see Scooter forever, because this is where he dies. Once we arrive, we actually have the surprise of a lifetime. Obviously, no one knows that we're Vasquez besides the people that were in the ship, but our best friend does it, and we learn that she betrayed us all along. She's spilling all the beans, and obviously she doesn't know that we're Vasquez, so we put her in check, and this is where this chapter ends, and we move on to the next chapter. Reese gets the hacking to get everyone through, and then the girls get a badge so they can become a tour guide. Then we run into one small issue. If you even try to enter Jack's office, it actually kills you and locks down everything. So Reese has to figure out her way through, but then we have to deal with our best friend who wants the device out of Reese's head. So she's confronting Vasquez, saying what the heck, what's happening, and Vasquez shocks her, aka Reese does. This knocks her out, and then this ends the chapter. Now chapter 5 is actually pretty quick. We just gotta tell everyone to get arrested because there's a secret trap door under Jack's office. And that's pretty much it for chapter 5. That's all you guys gotta know. We go save Fiona and Gortys and tell the soldier that's watching over them to go get some lunch, that we'll watch over them, that we're the main boss right now. Then we take off our disguise and tell Fiona to hold the latch so we don't get killed to get to Jack's office. Once we get to Jack's office, this is where the chapter ends for chapter 6. This last part, Jack is just talking to Reese about how he could take over, how he could be the guy. We find the Gortys part, and then we start talking to Jack just a little bit longer. This is where Fiona and Gortys actually get captured, and then it cuts off right there, and then it's back to Jack and Reese, and Jack is telling Reese how he can take over Hyperion all by himself if he just plugs himself in to AI Jack. You have a decision to make: rule Hyperion or reject it. I rule it. I want to rule all of Hyperion with Jack. I'm that guy. And once we do, Jack takes over Hyperion, and he tells us we're gonna take over Hyperion, Pandora. We're gonna take over the entire universe. That's where this episode ends. Fiona and the game punch their way out of getting out of jail, and then Jack tells us that he wants to make an army of Jacks with skeletons going into our body. And this is when we realized, okay, maybe we made a bad move, wrong choice, my bad. And we tell Jack he is a psychopath and we want nothing to do with it. And then we try to escape through a hatch door, and Jack is fully in control of the Hyperion base, and he traps us. Luckily, we drop Gortys' device, but then we end up pushing the door through, and we end up falling with it. But by this time, Fiona already got the device and left, and she thought we betrayed her at some point, I'm thinking. And then we go talk to our best friend Yvette while she's locked up in a jail cell, and we tell her goodbye for being a bad person all along, and this is where this chapter ends. Now everything's locked up, so we have to override it, and we have to start destroying things as Reese. That's exactly what we do. We become the hero of this chapter. We destroy everything, and open everything up and also close some things while destroying Jack's Hyperion base. This is where everyone gets on a full-on shootout with these two douchebags. These guys are always causing problems, but they end up escaping with the ship. And this is where Loaderbot gets everyone into a pod so they can escape. And it's actually pretty sad what's about to happen, because Loaderbot gets everyone inside a pod to make sure they live, and this is where the last time we'll see Loaderbot, and he dies. A truly tragic end for chapter 3. I thought it was really sad because I actually really enjoyed Loaderbot. Once we end up landing, Reese ends up confronting Jack, ripping his arm off, and then ends up ripping his eye out, so Jack has no more host, and this ends up killing Jack also. So now we have back-to-back deaths within the span of probably 30 seconds of this video. And then we go to where Fiona landed and all hell is breaking loose. Valerie ended up giving Gortys her last big upgrade, which made her huge. This ended up opening up the vault where a big ass monster came out going against Gortys, and Gortys cannot take it on by itself. We end up seeing Valerie with the rocket launcher, and we have to get that rocket launcher to take out Gortys, and this is actually Gortys' favor so the monster can despawn. The monster ends up taking out Valerie, and we end up getting the rocket launcher. This is where Sasha helps us, and we end up taking Gortys out, so the vault is now shut and the monster despawns. Now it was time to go to present day with the guy that actually captured us, and we're done telling our part of the story. Where out of nowhere, the guy with the mustache somehow, someway survived falling from Helios. He's holding a gun to the Psycho, and we have no idea who this guy is. But the bandit guy sees us and he wants to kill us, obviously, because that's been his goal this entire time, and then he gets choke cold and dies. So at least the guy that captured us has our back a little bit. But then the Psycho has his snipers everywhere and points them all at the guy that captured us, and it ends up being Vaughn. He saves us and saves the day. And Vaughn has a whole gang. He has this whole thing where he end up making out, so hey, he's the new badass of this game. And now it's time to start asking this guy questions. Why did he capture us? Who is he? And then come all along, it is a Loaderbot, and he thought we betrayed Gortys by killing her. Loaderbot actually uploaded his body to Jack's skeleton, so that's how he became super powerful and got to live. But now it was time to save Gortys, and I had to pick up my whole little gang. I picked up Athena, Athena's girlfriend, the doctor, yada yada yada. I picked up my entire gang, and now it's time to go save Gortys. That was the end of chapter 5. We're obviously gonna have to open the vault, and this is where things get pretty epic and we get into a big robot fight. Well, actually, it's kind of like Pacific Rim, big robot versus big monster, so it's actually really cool. We get to control Gortys because obviously she's a robot, and it's just like Pacific Rim. Just like I said, we're just going against a Borderlands monster. We get a sword and everything. We end up taking down the monster. When everyone was controlling Gortys, there was 2 people actually inside the monster to hurt it, Fiona and Sasha. We planted bombs in there, and there was one person that actually sacrificed themselves to blow up everything, and that was Sasha. Gortys did take down the monster, but it wouldn't have happened without Sasha, and this is where that chapter ends. Fiona's looking for Sasha, and then we end up finding her laying on the ground dying. Then a secret thing that I talked about earlier in the game, her dad's gift. The gift that her dad gave her actually revives her, so I don't know if this was part of the story, if I didn't pick it, or if I picked it up. I don't know if it changes anything, which is actually pretty cool. So at the end, she ends up living, and now it's time to go inside the vault with Fiona and Reese. Obviously, there's going to be a treasure chest inside the vault, and once we open it, it's actually nothing. The game never really tells you, so you actually have to find out through Borderlands 3. At least we earned the platinum for the game, and it's called We Had Fun, didn't we? Time for New Tales of the Borderlands. I'm kidding. I'm obviously going to tell you guys what was inside that chest. I played Borderlands 3 and still have zero idea what was inside that chest, so I had to do some Google research on this one. Reese and Fiona open a chest inside the Vault Hunter Traveler, which causes them to be teleported to an unknown location, leaving the contents of this chest itself a mystery. So yes, it's still a stupid ass ending in my opinion. One of the dumbest endings in video game because we never really got an answer for this. Yes, Reese ended up taking over Helios at the very end, but still, it's like whatever happened to Fiona? I have no idea. Would I recommend this game? 100%. I don't even like Tales games, but I absolutely love this one. This actually made me want to play the Batman Tales games, which I might if you guys want that. I don't know, but we have to play many other games. And now, on to the next Tales game before I even think about playing a different game. New Tales from the Borderlands. New Tales from the Borderlands was released on October 21st, 2022. This will officially be our last platinum before we can actually get to the Borderlands 4 game. We start off New Tales of the Borderlands at Atlas headquarters, meeting the main character of the game, Anu. Now there are going to be a lot of pointless characters in this game, and one of them is her partner in crime, aka just another scientist. But right away we jump into getting trophies, and one of them is building this weapon that Anu's trying to build for Reese. Yes, the guy from the last Tales game in the Borderlands series. And to get this little device to work, we just gotta slap it a couple times and it automatically gets us a trophy for it. Then we meet Timmy, a robot. Nothing really important, he's just there. Now if I wanted to be a great editor, I could have put this game in the right order, but this game kind of jumps all over the place, and I want to show you how the game is. I want to show you guys how this game truly is. It jumps from one character to another pretty damn fast. And we go to meeting another main character in this game that we play as, and that's Octavio and his killer friend Louis. And again, it jumps right away to another main character without any real dialogue. You make a couple choices with each character, but again, it just jumps to another character and that we're going to be playing as, and that is Fran. She owns a yogurt shop and has anger issues. That's all you really got to know about her. Now, I jumped from one Borderlands game to another when it comes to the Tales series, and I was wondering, why is Reese in this game? Why is Sasha on his desk? Because I had many questions on what was in that chest in the last Tales game. I haven't told you guys the ending and that it was open-ended, but then I did some more research, and then there was a book for Borderlands 2 and the Tales game all together. And it was pretty much a wish that they all got, at least between Reese and Fiona. And Reese wanted to take over Atlas. And well, Fiona wished for a lot of money, and I'm going to show you what she got at the end of that very soon. But with Reese taking over Atlas, he has to come up with new devices, and that's where Anu comes into play with this gun. But Reese doesn't want any type of gun. He doesn't want any type of device. He wants something to take over the globe, something that will be a game changer, something that will take down enemies all on its own. And well, Anu's device really doesn't do that. It just makes things disappear and go away, and they don't know really where they go. Anu ends up getting fired from Reese because her device sucks, and then he ends up getting a call from Susan Coldwell. Moments after leaving his office, the entire Atlas headquarters is getting taken over by TDOR, the people that are ran by Susan Coldwell. This is when Anu realizes she has to leave Atlas to actually go to Promethea, where Octavio's at, because that's her brother after all. But before leaving, our other partner scientist ends up giving us a vault lander. This is where Fiona's wish came into play, because she obviously couldn't carry millions and millions of dollars for some odd reason. So her wish ended up becoming a vault lander that would sell for $1 million, and that's how they were going to end up getting a lot of money. Well, end up getting destroyed, and so she ended up becoming broke, and that's why we never really see her. This is where Anu ends up finally taking Reese's car, which is actually from the very first Tales game, because it's actually Vasquez's car. And we land on Promethea and end up meeting a new character called Stapleface, which is actually not really important because she's not really in this game much. Then we go back to the perspective with Octavio and meet a couple of his friends, hack a couple of things, and end up getting another trophy. This is when Coldwell's army actually invades the entire planet, and everything starts going to hell. Octavio actually grabs a gun and actually starts killing some people, and then he starts talking about tacos. And if you talk about tacos enough, you are sure to unlock another trophy in this game, and that's exactly what I did. I talked about tacos enough to the soldier to learn his name, and once we heard his name, Louis hears it, and he shoots him, and he takes him down because he had a bounty on his head. Because he's an assassin robot, so all he is out for bounties. That's really all he does in this entire game, which is actually pretty cool. Octavio finally shows up to work at Fran's yogurt shop. He's also trying to hide, obviously. So she tells him to go into the back, and then Susan Caldwell calls her and then tells her how bad her yogurt shop is. This is when the Popo shows up and they try to blow up the entire shop, and the one that witnesses it all is Anu. And this is the official ending of Chapter 1. Somehow they all live. The shop is damaged, but not as I expected. I thought there would be a lot more damage, to be honest. Anu finally goes into the yogurt shop to reunite with her brother. This is when Reese calls us to tell us that TDOR is actually looking for a vault, and he wants, out of everybody, Anu to go look for the vault herself with her friends. So, that's exactly what we do, obviously. To make our way to the vault and to get around guards, we go inside the sewers, and then an action pops up, which I fill on purpose to earn a trophy. That's to fill an action for the very first time. And right after that one, I earn telling the toilet, where I get everyone killed, and that's another trophy. And then this guy stops us to do a vault lander battle, which is actually a great part about this video game, I will say. I love this guy. He's one of my favorite characters in the game. His main purpose throughout the entire game is just to beat us in Vaultlanders, and if he does, he gets to kill us. But if we beat him, we collect his Vaultlander. This is where we're in the trophy, don't get cocky. Win a Vaultlanders battle. With him taking the L, we get to go past him, and then we finally find the vault with guards standing by, trying to locate it actually, and they are right in front of it. This is actually a very good lesson for all you guys. Have good friends, because they push this guy into the void, and he comes out launching onto a spike, dies right on the spot, and then guardians come out and start causing all kinds of havoc. At least his friends got what they deserved and they died also. So there's that positive note, but obviously we have to escape. Which we do somehow. We find this little crack and then we find the vault somehow. No one decided to look inside this crack in the wall and we found the vault. So of course, what do? We enter it. And then there's going to be a vault monster in there. We have Octavio run around just to distract it for a little bit, and then we shoot it with Anu's gun to make it disappear, and then a little shard comes out of it. Anu grabs it and starts turning into like an exorcist type of person. It makes her eyes glow and stuff. It's actually really cool. Of course, Anu has to leave her badge there just for the game to continue, and then the guards know, okay, Anu has the shard. This is where I earned the trophy for completing chapter 2. Now it's time to figure out what this shard does, and Octavio finds out pretty dang quick. He wants to play with it for a little bit, jumps off a table, breaks his ankle, and the shard actually heals him. We put the shard into Anu's gun and make it into a healing gun. Now it's time to try to get rich. This is honestly like Shark Tank in a way. I want to say that's the show we went on. But if you fail, you die. If the guy doesn't like your product, you literally die from sharks. Anu is a terrible sales girl. She does not sell the product one bit, and she gets sent into the sharks. But Fran is a badass, and she actually beats up the sharks. Anu actually ends up losing her leg in the process though, but luckily we have a healing gun, and it brings her shoe back once we shoot her with it. So once we show the product off, we get an angel investor, so they're gonna give us a lot of money, millions of dollars. That's where I get the trophy. You rich now. So now it's time to figure out what to do with this money, and we also talk to our investor. We go to the morgue to find a dead body to actually try to heal. This is where we meet the keeper, and on her TV it says Anu is wanted because obviously they found her badge inside the vault, and if you turn her in, you get some cash. The keeper tells Anu to come to the back to come check out a couple of bodies she might have, and then pushes her inside of a casket to lock her up in there. This is where we get the trophy, our lucky winner, for completing chapter 3. We move on to the next chapter where Anu does like 1,000 punches to get out of this casket, and once we get out, the keeper tries to kill us, but Anu ends up killing her. So Anu is kind of turning into a savage at this point, which I love. From the sound of my voice, you obviously can hear it. She escapes through the streets before the police can get there. Then we meet back up with the gang, and Octavio has already used all of our money to buy Fran's old froyo shop, and we named it the Good Guys. And now we get the trophy for being broke again. This is where Fran shows up with a dancer, and we have to do a little mini game, and if we perfect it, we get a trophy for it. This was a very odd and weird trophy, but I guess it is what it is. They're just trying to fill in the game at this point. Anu was really into it, and we got the trophy. You got the goods, kid. The angel investor actually wants to host us for an event, and that's exactly what we do. We end up accepting the invitation, and it's a big, beautiful building. Louis plugs himself in to give himself a little sensation, and this is where they start separating everyone. Octavio ends up going to a VIP party where he ends up trapped inside of a jail cell. Anu ends up becoming a scientist for a little bit until she gets trapped inside of a jail cell, and Fran is just shown around a yogurt shop where everything is completely broken until she finds that Anu and Octavio were both trapped, and Louis is with her also. The one that trapped us is Susan. She was our actual angel investor. She wanted this stone all along because she has a red stone, and she ends up making us part of this big hosting party. She wants to show her true power of what she has, and the redstone can kill people. She just needs an experiment. She needs someone to show an example on, and that's Octavio. So what does she do? She kills him, she heals him, kills him, and heals him until Anu ends up going off. The healing stone goes straight inside of her chest, and her eyes are glowing where she can take down people, and she becomes a super badass until she passes out. This ends chapter 4. Now we have doctors trying to find a way to get the stone out of Anu's chest, but it's not coming out. What ends up happening is kind of like what happened in Infinity War, where Thanos is going through his memories and everything he did bad or things that he regrets, because Anu is seeing herself from a different perspective on everything she did wrong or people she was mean to, and it's all coming from the stone inside inside of her chest. Octavio ends up getting locked up, but ends up grabbing a talking gun. So this helps him get out of the jail cell, and he puts the guards in the jail cell. And then we move over to Fran, where she takes out 2 guards, and she helps us get 2 trophies along the way. She has to battle her anger management machine, and we call out the sexy intern to get the trophy, bring back the butt. Once we take down the device, we get the trophy. Those were the days. Octavio, Fran, and Louis all end up meeting up together to see where Anu's at. They end up breaking into Susan's office, and then we end up fighting our good friend, the Vault Lander guy, who always wants to battle us. Sadly, this will be the last battle we go against him, and we take him down to earn another trophy. Then I finally buy an item for the very first time to unlock another trophy, and then with Octavio's device, you can scan your friend's background, and this earns the trophy Super Trusting Friend. In Susan's office, we end up finding a little trap door that shows us where Anu's at, so that's where we go. Doctors are still working on her, trying to take out the stone. The stone just stays in her the entire time, and then we finally go to one final flashback with her, where she's talking to all of the people that she knew. Honestly, I wouldn't even call it a flashback, because she ends up flying. She becomes a siren. She ends up talking to herself. This is when Susan tells the guard to watch over Anu while they head out to try to find a way to get the stone out of her chest. Finally, the group ends up getting to her, and then the guard is like, wait, hold up, you want a death day, and takes off her helmet. It ends up being our friend when Anu first landed on Promethea. Anu finally wakes up from all of her crazy ass dreams. Now we have to try to find a way to escape this entire place. Stapleface ends up trying to help us get through, but she ends up getting shot and ends up dying. We try to heal her, but she wants to die. She's saying dying is delicious. Louis ends up dying also in this process while trying to protect Octavio. Then we finally get to Susan, where she shows us her big weapon, where she can use the redstone to shoot all of Promethea and kill everyone in the process. So obviously we got to do something about it. We give her the health stone. I'm just going to call it that for now. And now she has both stones, and she combines them both and turns into this big monster, which is actually kind of disappointing because we actually beat her pretty dang easy. She obviously has her stage 1 boss, which we trap her and kill her. Then she turns into this really big boss, which I thought was going to be a huge issue, but all we have to do is punch a stone right through her chest to actually take her down. And with the stones combined, it heals everyone in the process. This is when the ship crash lands on Promethea and 1 year passes. Now for my first ending, which I had to play this game many times, sadly. Fran ended up dying for my first ending, and for some reason, I don't know why, but at the very end, they want to invite Fiona into this game, where it says time heals all from the very first game. I don't know why they didn't use her more in this game. It would have been fantastic in my opinion. After that, I ended up getting the trophy for completing chapter 5. I got the trophy. Hey, thanks for watching all of the credits. And now it was time to play the story over and over again, and I had to buy every single item and skin to earn a trophy. And if you keep everyone alive in the very ending, you get the trophy New Business for having a good rating. In the very beginning of the game, I actually missed one of the figures, and that was Claptrap, and this earned me the final trophy for collecting all the Vault Landers, not dolls, action figures. Claptrap is actually the weakest Vault Lander, so if you win a battle with him, you get another trophy. There are about 3 to 4 different endings in this game, and the other one is when Anu actually gets the stone inside of her chest and turns into a big monster. She wants to kill everyone that has killed everyone just to make the planet a little bit better, but Octavio talks to her, calms her down, and then she heals everyone. At the end of this story, she's the one that ends up dying. In the other ending, we have Octavio, and then obviously Louis die, and we visit their graves to give them their flowers. Now for the final ending that I got is where Octavio actually gets his own TV show where he's selling tacos. For Anu, she is leaving Promethea again. She doesn't want to, she has a hard time leaving, but she does, and Fran is also alive. I finally get the trophy. You played this before for viewing every single ending in this game, which was really hard. And then finally, I got the Platinum Trophy, Total Tell Told, for platinuming the entire game, and now I have every single platinum for every single Borderlands game. Now, I will move on to Borderlands 4, so I will see you guys then. Before that, this little robot, Timmy, is actually possessed with the power to heal and kill people, so he is pretty much Thanos. So that's a very weird ending. I thought that was pretty cool, but also very weird. I don't know what to really think about this ending. Let me know what you guys think of Tales of the Borderlands and New Tales of the Borderlands. What ones do you guys prefer? Do you guys like them? Do you guys hate them? Please let me know down below. Until next time, I'll see you beautiful people later. God bless everyone. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for watching.